What's up, guys? This is the Osmo.com Night Shift Podcast. We got some MLB to talk about for Tuesday, August 7th, 14-game main slate. So we're going to go through game by game, talk about some interesting things from each game, if there is anything noteworthy to talk about. Mostly starting pitcher talk on this podcast from me. We'll get into some stacks and hitters, and then we'll have the MLB strategy video with myself and Josh Engelman. Tomorrow morning they'll be live, so come and chat, hang out there, and then we'll have the live stream at 6 Eastern. I'll be on that with Chris Spags. Osmo will be doing his, Tuesday top stack article, and then we'll have the ownership projections, rankings, all that stuff, spotlight hitters, pitchers, stacks. It's going to be a day full of content. So let's build those bankrolls for NFL, NHL, NBA season, whichever is your favorite, or you could dabble in all of them. Go on the premium tab on Osmo.com if you want to find out more about the premium packages. All right. Atlanta and Washington. We've got Sean Newcomb going up against Max Scherzer. Newcomb for 10-5, Scherzer 13-9. Highest priced pitcher on the slate by a good margin. So Newcomb, I think he's just too expensive in the spot. He's someone that I like, but gets in trouble with walks, and this Nationals lineup is really going to be tough for righties or lefties. So Zimmerman's in there. You got Rendon, Turner off the top, and then it's not like the lefties are bad at hitting left-handed pitching either. With Harper, Juan Soto, Daniel Murphy looks like he's found some life. Not quite back to the form he was the last couple of years, but still finally starting to hit the ball harder. So I like these Nationals bats. Newcomb's kind of the type of pitcher I like to stack against. Can lose his command pretty easily, and I'll be going with some Nats bats. I'm expecting somewhat low ownership with only a 4.5 total. Scherzer on the other side for 13-9. Really tough for me to get to him here, although there is a pitcher, at least one, that's just priced way too low once again. So you can get to Scherzer. I think he's overpriced here. It's not even a great strikeout matchup. He's had 2 really good starts in a row. So no issue with using him if you can fit him. I think he's got a decent chance to be the top raw point scoring pitcher. The problem is if you're not going down to one of these guys in the 4K range for pitching, then it's going to be tough to fit him and all the bats you want. I'm really prioritizing bats for this slate, so no issue with Scherzer, but I don't know if I'll be able to get to him very much tonight. Boston and Toronto. Drew Pomeranz against Marcus Stroman. Pomeranz is 6,200, and I just haven't seen anything that makes me want to play Pomeranz. He just doesn't look like his usual self. He's on the road here. 9 righties he's going to see, more than likely. Got some that hit lefties really hard. I like Teoscar Hernandez a ton. Justin Smoke. Travis, if he's hitting second, for only 3,800. I love that Grichuk has been leading off. I'm hoping to see that once again. So I like these Toronto bats. I'm not on Pomeranz. I am assuming Pomeranz is going to see some ownership just because he's a favorite and he's 6,200 and he's a name. But I think I'll be going on the other side of that. Stroman for 4,800, not in play for me. This Red Sox lineup is just way too tough. I'm not super high on the Red Sox stack. I like Mookie, I like Benintendi, I like JD, but not a great lineup once you get past the top 5 or so. So I think I'm lukewarm on the Red Sox stack, but also not on Stroman. Let's go to St. Louis and Miami. Miles Mikolas against Pablo Lopez. Let's start with Mikolas. I think he should be better. Like, he should be getting more strikeouts than what he has been this year. He's had a really tough time against lefties, well under 20% K rate against them. It's not like they're crushing him or anything, but some hard contact. I'm worried about Bohr. Dietrich has looked okay to me as well. So it's not the easiest matchup. The strikeouts aren't really there for the Marlins. Got a lot of guys below average. Anderson, Real Muto, Castro. These guys all strike out under 20% against right-handed pitching this season. So Michael is just a little bit too expensive. I don't really see the upside here. The guy I like in this game is Pablo Lopez for 5,800. He looked really good to me. I saw a lot of that start against the Phillies, whenever that was last week. The swinging strike rate wasn't great, but Lopez looked really good to me. His stuff looks good. I hadn't seen much of him before that start, but I'm in on Lopez. I like him for 5,800. I like that he's going to get 5 righties in a row, 2 through 6 for the Cardinals. There's a lot of swing and miss on this team, especially near the bottom of that lineup. If Bader's going to be in there, Jed Jurko, Paul DeJong strike out all quite a bit. So I'm in on Pablo Lopez for 5,800 here. I wonder how chalky he will actually end up being. And then hitters for this game are just kind of whatever for me. I'm not going to be crazy high on either side. Minnesota and Cleveland. Adalberto Mejia against Carlos Carrasco. Mejia is 5K, but hard to play a pitcher in Cleveland when you get to start out against Lindor, Brantley, Ramirez, then Encarnacion. That's a tough top 4. Jose Ramirez is 6,100 in this game for this slate, but I don't even think that that's a terrible price. I'll for sure have some of him. He just grades out so well, having an awesome season, and I would expect him to make really good contact against Mejia. Same with Lindor, same with Encarnacion. This is another team that drops off for me after the top half. If Yan Gomes is in the lineup, I like that a lot at catcher, but he's 4,100, so Cleveland really priced up. Carrasco, 11.5, missing as many bats as anyone as of late. The swinging strikes are way up. He's getting in the upper teens a lot of games recently, and then just had an awesome start against Minnesota last week. I would expect similar outcomes for this game. He just went 7 1/3, 10 strikeouts, 16.8% swinging strike rate, and then the chase rate is also way up. He's getting games in the 40s, 39, 39, 38, a 50% chase rate against the Tigers. So Carrasco pitching near the top of his game, and I will be on him once again in this one. Cincinnati and the Mets, we've got Saul Romano going up against Jason Vargas. Romano for 5,600. Not someone that I'm looking at, but for 5,600, I guess you can make the case if that's your guy. He's just not mine at all. It doesn't miss enough bats for me. Under 8% swinging strike rate on the season for Saul Romano. Vargas on the other side. So he's 4,500 once again. 17% swinging strike rate against Atlanta. Had a pretty good start. I think he went 5 innings, 7 strikeouts. I don't have the game logs in front of me, but just looking at his start, I was impressed. And he gets be 4,500. You just don't need a lot from him. And he's shown he can miss bats as of late. He's got a 10.8% swinging strike rate on the season, above average chase rate. Will give up some hard contact. Probably going to give up that to a Eugenio Suarez, who was 5,300. He's the guy I really love if you're targeting against Vargas. If Vargas is going to be chalky, that's a way to get some leverage. So I love that play, but other than that, not super worried about the rest of these Reds hitters. So Vargas is in play for me. May even be a spotlight pitcher. Haven't decided what I'm doing for that article just yet, but Mets bats against Romano are interesting to me. Nimmo, Conforto, and then Jeff McNeil for 3,400 if he's batting second. So I see him in the 2 spot. I didn't play much this weekend, but if that's what they've been doing lately, then 3,400 against Saul Romano as a lefty, you can definitely find your way into some of my lineups. Baltimore and Tampa Bay. Alex Cobb against Tyler Glasnow. Cobb is 4,900 on DraftKings. He's coming off a really, really good start against the Yankees. It's not like anything jumped out as far as the advanced stuff, but just kind of put it all together, and he's not as bad as what I thought earlier in the season. I mean, he was terrible earlier in the season. Looks like he's made some adjustments and just gotten a little less unlucky with some of his contact. Still not. I don't think I'm going to play him here for 4,900. I think Tampa Bay isn't a bad offense at all. And they've got Bowers, who I like a lot in this spot, Wendell in the cleanup spot, and then G-Man Choi batting fifth. So a lot of lefties they can put out here. Michael Perez near the bottom of that lineup too. So I think I'm still off of Cobb, although I will say he's become intriguing to me at this price, especially to try to afford a Scherzer or a Carrasco and still get in quality bats. Glass now 6,900, not on the table for me, and it's just a pitch count thing. I mean, if he had thrown more pitches in his last start, or I thought he could go 85 or 90 pitches here, I would be interested for 6,900. But he threw 48 pitches in his last start, quote unquote, and I don't know if they're going to use him as an actual starter or what they're trying to do with him. But I wouldn't expect him to go much longer than 50 or 60 pitches. Maybe gets to 65, unless we hear differently, and I'm just way off on that. That's what I would expect as of now, so no real interest in Glass now for me. Seattle and Texas. Felix Hernandez against Bartolo Colon would have been a good matchup like 10 years ago, but this is 2018, and we will not be playing these guys. At least I won't be. Not in this weather. Almost 100 degrees in Texas once again. Neither of these guys missing very many bats, and it's just going to be all hitters for me. I guess my favorite guys on each side, Nelson Cruz for the Mariners is my favorite. I think he's probably my favorite bat in this entire game. Seager and Haniger not far behind, and then I like Zunino in there as well at catcher for 3,600. Texas, hard not to go to Joey Gallo in the spot, although he's 5,100. So if it's going to be chalky Joey Gallo for 5,100, that could be a big old zero with 4 strikeouts. So that would be an okay fade. Adrian Beltre is only 3,600. That's kind of crazy. I know he hasn't been that good. He's lacked power all year, but tough to get away from him batting cleanup against Felix Hernandez in 100-degree weather with some good hitters around him. But Chu and Odor right off the top, I think, are probably my favorites on the Texas side. Just 1-2, especially Chu. I love him in this spot. He grades out as a really good hitter against righties for me. All right, San Diego and Milwaukee. We've got Clayton Richard against Chase Anderson. Richard for 5,100 has issues with hard contact against righties. So that puts the Brewers in play for me, and it's going to be the top 5. Lorenzo Cain, Jesus Aguilar, Jonathan Scope, and Ryan Braun are my favorites, but I don't mind using Yelich or even going down to Travis Shaw in the 6th spot if you need a full stack for the Brewers. I do respect Richards as a pitcher, but when he gets a lot of righties in a row, that's when I want to stack against him. Brewers at home here. I think they can get to him and then get into that San Diego bullpen, so I'll be pretty heavy on the Brewers. Chase Anderson for 7,800 looks really good to me as of late. It's been about a month of quality starts for Anderson. Wasn't on him last time against the Dodgers, and maybe I should have been because the results were good. Got a decent amount of swinging strikes and just survived, which was what I really wanted to see. So I'm back on Anderson for 7,800 against the Padres. I don't expect him to get you 25 points or anything crazy like that, although I think he's got a little bit more swing and miss than what most people give him credit for. But I think he's safe in this spot, and he's going to be one of the mid-tier guys that I go to. I love that he's at home and against this swing and miss happy San Diego Padres team. Yankees and White Sox, CC Sabathia against Reynaldo Lopez. Not really going to either of these two guys. You can make a case for CC, but Yankees pitchers are tough for me to play when they're not the top-end guys because they've got such a good bullpen. If guys get in trouble in the 4th and 5th inning, there's no reason for them to risk it, especially trying to chase down the Red Sox for the division. So no CC for me, and there's a lot of righties in that lineup too. I love Matt Davidson if he's in for 4,200, dual position eligibility for him, and then Avisail Garcia for 4,500. So just one-offs against CC and that Yankees pen for me. Reynaldo Lopez is a guy I love full stacking against. Loses his command really, really easily, and these Yankees bats we know are obviously great. I don't know how much detail I really need to go into about the Yankees bats, so we'll leave it at the Yankees are a really awesome stack. 1 through 6 is what I want, but Andujar and Romine also are fine for me. Cubs and Royals, Mike Montgomery against Brad Keller. Montgomery for 7K. I wish he had more swinging strikes or got chases or did something that I could point to say I'm confident this guy can miss bats, but I don't really see it for the long term. So I like the price. I like that he's a minus 173 favorite, but decent weather in Kansas City, and they're striking out a lot, but I don't see Montgomery getting a ton of strikeouts here, so I'd rather go up to a Chase Anderson or someone like that with, I think, a lot more upside than Montgomery. And then I'll play Whit Merrifield quite a bit here for 5,200. Dual position eligibility, just smokes lefties, and I play him against lefties really all the time. He's the lone bright spot for me on the Royals. Brad Keller for 6K. Doesn't look terrible to me, but again, this weather is really good in Kansas City for these Cubs hitters, so I'm going to be looking at some Anthony Rizzo, Kyle Schwarber, and Ian Happ especially, but full Cubs stack. Anytime you get to go against Kansas City against a maybe average arm to start with and then a bullpen game, it's super appealing, so I'll be on these Cubs once again. Pittsburgh and Colorado, we got Coors Field. Jameson Taillon against Chad Bettis. Taillon 7,100, but not low enough for me to want to pull the trigger here. I love Charlie Blackmon, Nolan Arenado, and Trevor Story, all above 5K. I wonder how chalky Coors is going to be, because I have a feeling this Colorado side is not going to be heavily owned, just looking at some of these other spots. Could be wrong about that, but that's my inclination right now. Bettis, just nothing spectacular for him. Doesn't get swinging strikes. Certainly does not get chases. The xFIP is okay. I don't think he's a terrible real-life starter, but for DFS, he's not someone that I find myself playing very often. The hitters I like for Pittsburgh are really all of them. Frazier, Polanco, and Marte all stick out to me as really good plays, and those guys start off 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait. Corey Dickerson's back. Interesting. Or at least he's supposed to be back. So he's 5,300. If he leads off, I love that. And that makes that lineup look a little bit better to me. Even if Colin Moran's in there for 3,900, that's a nice value play in Coors against a righty. So Pittsburgh, one of my top stacks as well, hoping Coors goes somewhat under-owned. Philadelphia and Arizona, Nick Pivetta against Zach Greinke. Pivetta is one of my favorite guys to play when he's at home. On the road, it's a little bit of a different story. Not that I don't think you can play him here, because he is really good against righties, but the problem is some of these righties are really good hitters for Arizona, and they've got some switch hitters in Marte and Escobar, so not a lot of platoon advantages for Pivetta here. And he's shown the tendency to get blown up here and there every once in a while. Right now, I don't think I'm on the Diamondbacks stack, but I like Peralta for 4,600. Zach Greinke for 10-1. I'm guessing he's going to be pretty popular on this slate just because he's at home against the Phillies. He's looked fine over his last few starts, and I would expect him to have another really nice start here against Philadelphia. On the road against a righty, they strike out at the highest rate in the league in that split, so I'm expecting Greinke to run down through this lineup. he's significantly cheaper than Carlos Carrasco, but I think they're about the same for me. So if I have the extra $1,400, which is a lot, I get it, but I'm going to try to go to Carrasco. I think Carrasco is probably a pretty nice GPP pivot if you could call him that for $1,400 more. Dodgers and the Athletics. Not a ton I'm on for this game. Rich Hill against Sean Manaea, just an 8-run total in Oakland. So Hill is someone I've come to respect a little bit more as the season's gone on. Looks like he's finally getting right. I don't know if I want to play him here. Oakland's not striking out that much lately, and a lot of righties in that lineup. And Hill is still struggling, giving up a ton of hard contact to righties, near 50% for the season. So I like Matt Chapman a lot, Mark Canha somewhat, but that under 4 total is worrying me for Oakland. So I don't know if I'm going to be full stacking Oakland just yet. More of a mini stack or a 2 or 3 man probably. Sean Manaea for 9,200. He's someone also who's struggling with hard contact against righties, and if I'm stacking a side in this game, full on stacking, it's going to be against Manaea more than Rich Hill, because Machado, Turner, Kemp, Kike, Brian Dozier, and then Chris Taylor leading off. That's a really, really tough top 6. Possibly Puig down there in the 8 spot, although I'm seeing a question mark next to his name, so I'm not sure if he's going to go. But yeah, I think I would go back to the Dodgers here as a low-owned stack. If they're going to be low-owned, I can't really gauge ownership just yet. Mike Fiers against the Angels and Andrew Heaney. Last game of the night. Almost 90 degrees in LA, or I guess in Anaheim, the Angels of Anaheim. So Fiers 6,600. I mean, there's no way I can play Fiers here. The Angels have been crushing righties for the last month. Highest WRC plus, highest ISO, highest pretty much everything on base percentage. They're just getting on base. They're hitting for power. They're doing all the things you like to see them do. And it's weird because they've got such a righty-heavy lineup, but Trout, Upton, and Andrelton Simmons have all hit righties really, really well this year. So I'm going to be on this Angel stack for the late-night hammer. And actually, I don't know if it's going to be Fiers now that I'm looking at it. There's no line out, so I'm assuming that's why there's no line out. But I don't know. Just confirm tomorrow. We'll obviously know probably by the time you listen to this who's starting for the Tigers. But if it's Fiers or if it's Jacob Turner, it doesn't really change a lot for me. Still a righty against the Angels, and they've had a ton of success against them. So I'm going to ride that out, and it's going to be with the good hitters. So Ohtani, Trout, Upton, and Simmons. Heaney for 8,800. I like Heaney a lot. I don't know if this is the best spot for him. With 9 righties, for as far as strikeouts, he seems safe to me. So he's on my radar. I'm not crazy about the matchup, but I probably will end up with some Heaney. My model likes him, so I need to dig into him a little bit more, but I do prefer, I think, Chase Anderson over him for $100K cheaper. Not $100K cheaper, geez. That'd be quite a bit for $1,000 cheaper. And then I think a few other guys that I'd rather go down to, like Pablo Lopez, Vargas, rather than pay up for what I don't think is a ton of upside against Detroit for Heaney. But I'll be looking more into that matchup as the day goes on. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Get to Osmo.com. Check out the Spotlight Hitters, Pitchers, and Stacks for this Tuesday slate. The strategy video with myself and Josh, and then live stream with myself and Chris Spags. Osmo will have his top stack article out as he does every Tuesday. So good luck on this slate, guys. Hit me up if you have any questions. My DMs are open. Good luck.